What was your score? Did you get the offer? Was the project successful? Were you efficient enough, productive enough, outstanding enough? These are the questions so many of us grow up answering. And after years, we don't just answer them. We start to see ourselves through them. We start to believe that the most important thing in our lives are the things that can be measured. But what would be left after the results? Usually, not the result alone, but the life around it. The people we met, the dreams we had, the inspiration we caught, the thing that can still be told as stories. Stories mattered to me long before I had words for any of this. When I was a child, my father had a ritual at bedtime. He would sit beside me and say in a theatrical voice, "Tell, tell, tell. What story shall I tell?" If he said it 3 times, a story would appear. I once asked him, "Why is it that whenever I ask for a story, you always have one?" He smiled and said that there was a story tree growing inside his stomach, and every night it bore 3 fruits. Whenever he wanted to tell a story, he simply picked one. I believed him completely. I believed that stories were not just something told at bedtime. They had life. They could grow. And somewhere in my heart, a seed was planted. Every afternoon after kindergarten, my grandmother would come to pick me up with her old, rusty bicycle. The moment I jumped onto the back seat, the bike would creak beneath us. And that's where my story began. I would tell her everything. The books I read that day, the games I played with my friends, some tiny drama that seemed to me felt enormous. She never found me boring. She never interrupted. She just listened, bursting into laughter from time to time, and sometimes adding little jokes of her own. Somewhere along our rides home, I came to realize that an ordinary day could become something more once it was told. At that time, I thought this is just what life was. Living through a day and bringing it home with stories. But later, as I grew older, I slowly forgot this. I forgot that words could carry a life. I started to treat them the way I treated everything else, as something to be measured. In my middle school, I almost treated it as I only cared about the result. I wanted to make full use of every hour, every effort, every possible point. In my Chinese exams, there was always one essay question in the end. It's supposed to be the freest part of the paper, the one place where I could still bring a part of my memory, a feeling, a scene from my own life. But even that kind of freedom became tangled up with anxiety. I was no longer asking, did I say something real? I was asking, how many points will this get? If I scored well, I felt relieved. If I didn't, it almost felt as if it is a failure. Last year, when I went back home, I found one of those old exam papers again. And what struck me was not the score. I honestly do not remember what score it received. What struck me was the essay itself. It is about an ordinary afternoon, a Sunday meal. A day that is too distant for me to even recall. But there it was, still alive on the page. I could see my grandfather, proud of the dish he had made, asking me, "Is it good? Should I add a little more salt?" And at that moment, it felt as if no time had passed at all. I showed it to my mother, and she said, almost with surprise, "I had forgotten this happened, and I'm glad now I remember it again." For years, I had lived as if results was the only thing that mattered. But even then, my heart already knew that it can never tell the whole story. A number can summarize an experience, but it can never replace it. A score can tell us how something was judged, but it can never tell us how something was lived. Living successfully and living truthfully are sometimes two different subjects. And that's why stories matter, because they tell us how to hold on to the truth of what we lived, even after the result has passed. If I had to say one thing to my younger self, it would not be, try a little harder, lose less points, be more perfect. It would be this: pay attention. Pay attention to what you're living while you're living it. Pay attention to the people around you, to the things that seem too small to matter, to the feelings that arrive before you even notice them. Write them down, tell them, hold on to them. Because one day, a score will pass, but a story may remain. The society has given us a plot that we should follow. That success is one shape, one measure, one acceptable ending. But beneath every success is a life being lived with effort, doubt, connection, all those little moments that cannot be told in one single number. We need our own stories too. We need the stories to tell what mattered to us, what changed us, what we loved, what we hated, what we lost, what we gained. And maybe that is what my Father has given me and given all of us long ago before I even noticed it. That somewhere inside us, a story tree is still growing, patiently, stubbornly, bearing fruits long after the results has faded.